Hi guys, and welcome back to a brand new piercing video. So today we're doing a little bit of a throwback style video. Now, a couple years ago, before I was doing my piercing reaction videos, I also used to do this series of videos called Piercing FAQ, where I went on Instagram and I asked you to send in your most pressing piercing questions. Now, it's been a long time since I've done one of these piercing videos, and I know people don't tend to go back very fast. So I'm going to do one today. So let's get on to your piercing questions. Let's not be rather bushy. That went out of sync. What are the most common mistakes people make when taking care of their piercings? So I think the biggest one, I mean, I could do an entire video on this on its own. I think it's what you do that puts dirt into the piercing. And what I mean by this is a lot of people just touch their piercings just because they're like, oh, it's new, I want to play with it, blah, blah, blah. Your hands are so dirty. Do not touch, do not touch a new piercing like that. Just leave it alone. Also, things like your headphones. If you're putting if you've got a tragus piercing or a piercing here and you're putting headphones in, or if you've got one up here and using big headphones, your headphones are so dirty. How often do you wash your headphones or clean them? Honestly, most people are just going to say they don't. And, you throw them around, you put them in your bag, you don't do anything with it. You just kind of just don't look after them. There's so much dirt. And when you're putting headphones on and stuff, you're going to transmit all that dirt into the piercing, which can cause it to get infected and stuff. And then people are like, I don't know why there's a problem with my piercing. And it's because you've transferred dirt into it. Things like your glass frames, the rims of your glasses that sort of sit. Say you've got a piercing up here and you've got your glasses are coming along here. That dirt is going into your piercing. To me, that's the biggest thing that people don't think about is the items that they're using in an everyday basis are dirty and that they could be putting germs into their piercing. Would you get your flaps pierced? No, Luxaria, I will not be getting my flaps pierced. Do you want me to tell you why I can't get my flaps pierced? It's because they're already pierced enough. Cons of getting nipple piercings. Oh my gosh. Okay, so some of you may know, some of you may not, I don't know. But I do have both of my nipples pierced. I've had them both done now for about a year and a half and a year. That I had a 6-month gap between them two because I was too scared to get them done on the same day, which I regretted. You don't realize how much you hit your nipples on things until there's piercings there to remind you. I can't believe the amount of times that I've hit myself on door frame, just walking through a door, or picking up some clothes from the floor, or just doing housework, and I'd knock it Normally, you have no idea, and I know it sounds crazy when I'm saying this, but if you don't have them pierced, you won't understand. And people who've got them pierced will completely relate to what I'm saying. Just doing normal things, you knock your nipples all the time, and during the healing process, it's so painful. Also, some people say that it heightens or lessens sensitivity. For me personally, I haven't found any difference between the sensitivity of my nipples. But just know that it can make them hypersensitive or desensitize them. But you never know what's going to happen to you until you get them done. So just keep that in mind. Should I change my nostril from a stud to a hoop while I have an irritation bump? Hell no. Until your piercing is healed, do not change the jewelry. It's just don't you would never pierce with a hoop, so don't change it prematurely to a hoop. Yes, after 3-4 months of an ear piercing or something, you can normally change it. It's not 100% healed, but it's enough that you can change it. If you've got an irritation bump, get rid of the bump first before you change it into a hoop, because it would just make it 10 times worse. What's the best way to prepare for getting a new piercing? Preferably lip piercing. I think just make sure you're educated on how to look after the piercing, have some saline solution at home to clean it with. Just make sure that you've got cotton buds and things that kind of stuff. Really, you don't need to do that much. Just make sure that you're educated. Just before getting a piercing, don't drink any alcohol. It's best not to get it done on a hangover, or don't drink any highly caffeinated drinks beforehand, because it will make you bleed more. So just keep those things in mind. Can you still put your belly button piercing in, or did the hole close over? So for some people who may not know, I did recently take out my belly button piercing just because I've had it for 10 years, and I felt like it just wasn't me anymore. I got it done when I was this 20-year-old twink, and I was like, oh girl, my belly button piercing, fabulous. I just feel like it didn't really represent who I am now. And I just didn't like it. So I took it out, but I don't know if I can put a thing back in because I've not tried. I also have a nice, fabulous new little microphone. Now, I probably won't be using this in every single video, but just for these longer sort of chatty videos. Hope you like it. Be really, it's nice having a nice little sort of professional microphone. Girl, hi girls. You can hear my voice so crystal clear. What's your opinion on face dermals? Would you ever get one? No. I think sometimes they can look cute, but it's just a hassle, and then they grow out, and you're left with scars and things. And if you got a dermal here and you catch that and that rips out, the thought of having a huge scar along here is just horrendous. No, girl. A piercing that you don't like and why? Love it from France. Ooh, bonjour. I'm not a massive fan of top lip piercings. I don't mind Medusa piercings, but Monroe or Madonna piercings, I'm not really a fan of. It only suits certain people and it's very rare, and I just don't really like them. Also, I mean, and with the, at least in the UK, it's very associated with chavvy mums, and people from the UK will understand what I'm saying. If you could only live with one piercing in, which one would it be? I would definitely say my dermal conch punch, which is here, this one here, my 6mm hole in my conch. I can't really see if you can see it very well. I'm quite far away from the camera. I really like that one just because like not many people have it. It's very unique. And I mean, the process of getting it done was a lot, and the healing process, so I don't really want to get rid of it. But I do really like my dermal conch punch. How many times and which of your piercings fell out? So, I mean, piercings don't really fall out. Like, they should be done tight enough. Unless you're like really vigorously sort of like bashing against them, that they won't really just fall out on their own accord. The only one that I do sometimes have problems with is my nostril piercings, my 2 little spikes that I do have here and here. When I'm like washing my face in like the bath or the shower, whatever, sometimes like I'll end up pushing too much and it will like end up twisting them off, but nothing else really falls out. You know, I can do all this and like nothing. This is what I never understood when people used to say to me when I was worked in retail. This is like an old rule now, but it was like, oh, but what happens if one fell out and fell in the food? It doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't happen unless they're not on properly. Like, they don't just fall off. So now this is probably one of the most common things I always get asked, and I get asked this almost every single day. It's, how do you wear earphones? So I have never actually liked wearing like those in-ear, like earbuds, or those like normal headphones that you would normally just have sitting in your ears. I've never ever really liked wearing them anyway, so it was never an issue for me getting loads of ear piercings. And like, I can have one in this ear if I want to, but in my right ear, I can't get a little earbud in or whatever because of my anti-tragus piercing, because it blocks the way. So I do actually use like these big headphones that will just sit over your ears and stuff. This is what I've always used. It's very comfortable. They don't hurt me. Of course, you have to make sure that you keep them clean because they are touching like piercings and stuff. I mean, once your piercings are healed, obviously, you know, it's not as serious, but I would still advise cleaning like your headphones regularly. Do you know any jobs that I would be able to get if I had heaps of piercings? Ooh, I'm imagining you are Australian. A lot of like more artistic or like any sort of like in like the media industry, like if you're doing social media for someone, if you're doing video editing, if you're like working cameras, if you're like a runner on a TV show, most sort of like artistic jobs don't tend to care if you are modified. Retail has changed a lot in the past 10 years. When I first started working in retail, my shop adamantly was like, you cannot have more than 1 earring in each ear. But I feel like it's changed a lot. It depends on where you are in the world as well. Like, if you live in England, the rules will be very different than if you live in a country where piercings aren't as common, or like if you live in I don't know, in America. Like, as I actually don't really know the piercing culture in America very much. Every time I've visited, I've always stood out like a sore thumb. The same way even when I've been visiting any round place in Europe. All work for Lush. Lush are great. Lush don't care how you look. In actual fact, Lush want you to look alternative because it looks good. So Lush, go work for Lush. What's the rudest reaction someone has had to you about your piercings? Love you. Love you too, girl. So, I mean, I get stared at all the time. That's like a normal thing. I've had people like talk about me literally right in front of my face to their friend or something, and I just stare at them back. Or half the time I'm like, I'll sit on the train and be like, oh, I love it when people stare at me. I think one of the rudest, this was more shocking to me. When I obviously again when I worked in retail still, one guy came up to me and was like, do you have any way of getting me some magic mushrooms? And I was like, what? I was like, what the hell? What thing to ask? And I was like, what? I looked confused. And he was like, I thought I'd ask you because you know. And then sort of like looked me up and down and pointed at kind of my earrings and stuff. And I was like, you think I'm a drug dealer because I look like this? I used to get customers all the time asking me about like, do I have my genitals pierced? And I'm like, I can't believe that you've just come and asked a complete stranger that you have no idea about if like, what does their penis look like? Like who does that? Can you imagine just going to a random stranger on the street and going, so how big is your vagina? Like, can you imagine saying that to someone? Like, it's insanity. Hi, could you imagine working as a piercer? So again, this is the question that I do get very often is, am I a piercer? Would I want to be a piercer? Would I like to pierce people? So the problem is I'm the kind of person that if I did anything wrong to someone, it would haunt me for life. Like I can't even like insult Cleverbot on like Google or like Google like bot thing. I can't even insult them because I feel guilty. So let alone if I actually hurt a human. So the idea of like piercing someone and like doing it wrong, like I just couldn't. I couldn't cope with it. I couldn't. Is it a good idea to get a helix and a second earlobe on the same ear in one go, or should I wait? So if you're gonna get multiple piercings in one day, maximum you should get is 3. You shouldn't get any more than 3 because your body will find it really, really hard to heal. If you are gonna get more than one done, I would always say get it on the same ear. So at the moment, I'm healing a piercing on my top helix here. I got my 3rd vertical helix piercing. So now I'm sleeping on this side. So if I had this side pierced as well, it would be an absolute nightmare. How do you hide your piercings from your parents? Ultimately, you can't really hide piercings. There are a few, like your septum piercing, you can flip up and you can make it disappear. But there's nothing really else that you can hide unless you can cover them with clothing. You can get clear plastic retainers, but again, like, you can still see them. Also, like, you shouldn't be getting piercings done behind your parents' back because that is one true way of making them distrust you. There's certain ways that maybe you can persuade them. You can just make sure that they know that you're very well educated in what you're doing. But I would always say, like, if they're telling you that you can't get them done, just wait until you're 18 or 20 or 19 or whatever, when you move out and you're an adult and you can do what you want. Why are you so obsessed with spikes? No, I've always been a bit of like a spiky person. My favorite villain is Maleficent, and I love it when she like makes all the thorns come up. I always like Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know. What's your piercing cleaning routine once they're healed? Now, it's a very interesting question because a lot of people think that once your piercing is healed that you don't really need to do anything anymore, which is completely false. So after my piercings are healed, which is obviously most of the time, I just wash them in the shower. I've got some like special soap that's aloe vera. It's not like scented at all. It's just like a fragrance-free, very easy soap, and I use that to wash my ears so it doesn't cause any irritation at all. Because also you don't want your ears to, like, if you're using like your normal shower gel you're using for your body on your ears, it can cause your ears to dry out, and you do not want dry ears. Also, I clean my ears, like my earwax and stuff that every person has. So I have to go around the whole of the ears and make sure there's nothing on it at all. Hi, hope this doesn't sound rude. Why did you often take out your labret? So if people don't know, I had my labret pierced here, or labret, however you want to say it. I had it down there. It was actually my 2nd piercing I ever got back in 2009. Back then, obviously, I didn't really know that much about piercings. So unfortunately, I left the long bar in it. The bar that it was pierced in. Obviously, when you get piercings, they give you like an extra long bar because for swelling. But I should have changed it when it was healed, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. I was just stupid. I was like, oh, but the healed ones are too tight and it's gonna be too small. I know. I was an idiot. So unfortunately, because I had such a long bar in, the bar would always be rubbing against these teeth here, and it caused the front of my gums here to recede. So I was like, it's just not worth it. So about a year and a half later, I took it out, and now I only ever put it in quickly if I'm doing like a video sometimes. But to be honest, with all the stuff that I got on my face, I don't really want a labret piercing as well. Just keep that in mind, guys, that no piercing is worth like damaging your health or damaging parts of your body for. Like, nothing's worth like losing your teeth or like eroding your gums. Nothing's worth that. Is there any point when a piercing should actually bleed? So it is very common for piercings to bleed, especially when you first get them done. Like if you've had them for like years and they're still bleeding, there's an issue there that you need to sort out. Now, of course, it shouldn't excessively bleed, and it should only do that if there's an issue, like you've had too much caffeine, or you're drunk, or you're hungover, or they've pierced a blood vessel. But like, a few of my piercings have bled. My eyebrow piercing bled a little bit. A couple of my ears have, but I've been very lucky that I'm not really much of a bleeder. Some people do bleed more than others, so don't panic if you do bleed. Like, that is very normal. Can you get your helix done twice, same spot but fully healed? So piercing through scar tissue, I mean, you can do it. I had my eyebrow piercing pretty much through the same area, but I took my piercing up before it was rejecting. It was growing out a tiny bit, but I made sure that I took it out very early and I let it heal perfectly. So the scar was very, very, very small. If you've had a piercing and it's gone really bad and you've got like a big scar, they probably won't pierce through it. And I wouldn't recommend doing it either. It hurts so much more the second time. I would just go and see your piercer and let them have a look at your ear, because unfortunately, it's not always the best idea to re-pierce in the same spot. What do you think about rules in schools about piercings? Like, do you think they're too strict? So I'm sure the rules have changed now since I was in school, but the school that I went to, the high school at least that I was into, they literally didn't give a crap what you did yourself. There was like 14-year-olds with eyebrow piercings and lip piercings. There was girls in my school with like loads of piercings in their ears. All you had to do was, if you ever did PE, you'd have to take it out for PE. or put like a plaster over it. The problem is, I understand that kids do get distracted, and if someone has if someone got a load of piercings, kids will get distracted. It's not like when they use that excuse that, oh, people will get distracted when you're like an adult in like a workplace, then I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, you're an adult, just like, don't look at me. But I can understand that like kids will get distracted. If I go into a place and there's like teenagers, they will gawp at my ears and they will gawp. And yeah, people might get used to it, but it will still be like this thing that distracts people. I also feel like when you're really young, you shouldn't be doing that much modifying to yourself anyway, because you will change what you like when you get older. And liking something at 13 and then getting like a nose piercing at 13 or like a lip piercing, like those kind of things, like, I don't know. I just don't think you should be doing that anyway. How much do dermals usually cost? So this is something that gets asked all the time, not just about dermals, but about pricing in general. How much does this cost? What's a good price? What's a good thing to look out for? Prices are going to vary depending on, of course, where you are. When I got pierced when I lived in Devon, it costs less than what I'm getting in London, because London is obviously very, like, everything in London is a lot more expensive than it is in like smaller towns. It also depends on like where you're getting pierced. Are you getting like an earlobe piercing? That's not going to cost the same as eyebrow piercing, or like a belly button piercing is not going to cost the same as a lip piercing. Like, piercings will vary as well from where you're getting pierced. If they're like giving you like an ear, like a cartilage piercing for like a tenner, to me that's a red flag. Piercings shouldn't be cheap. Like, it's not, you're making a wound in your body and you want to know what you're doing is in a reputable place. It's a hard thing for me to kind of say because it will vary completely from where you are. But I would say if a piercing is only costing you like a 10, like if you're going to get a cartilage piercing and they're like, that's £10, please. To me, that's a red flag. Have you ever tried putting chains in any of your piercings? There is no way in hell that I am connecting any of my piercings with chains. That literally, to me, like, yeah, it can sometimes look pretty, but to me personally, that is asking to be ripped out. There is no way that I'm attaching a chain to here and here, or here to here, or here to, like, it's just not happening. Pain management during the piercing process. I'm a wimp when it comes to pain. My answer's not, you're not gonna like it. You just have to deal with it. You can't do anything. Like, you just have to go through it. If you want piercings, you have to go through it. If you really, really can't cope with it, then don't get it done. There's no, you can't, like, some places might use numbing stuff, but I just would always advise not that anyway. After you get your piercing done, I do take ibuprofen because it's very good for swelling. Now, of course, make sure that you do check that you can have ibuprofen, and it does kind of like numb the pain of like the achingness afterwards. But just remember as well, like, when you get pierced, the actual like main pain part of it lasts like a second. It's not like a long drawn out process that's a constant pain for hours. Like, yes, piercings ache afterwards, but the piercing process, in which like the bit where it hurts the most, literally just lasts like a second. Does your family approve that you have that many piercings? You're amazing. Love you. I love you too, Black Moon Girl. So my family's a little bit messed up. So my dad died when I was a kid, and my mum's a bit of a crazy person. But however, they were both very heavily tattooed. So I'm sure they'd be fine with my piercings if they could see me. So I live with my grandparents. My grandmother didn't really like modifications, but she had already died before I'd even started getting piercings anyway. I don't know what she'd be like if she was to see me now. She probably wouldn't like them. My granddad didn't mind them too much. I have a funny story though. When I first got my lip pierced, I had like a black stud in it, and my granddad thought I had like a growth on my lip. He didn't realize that it was a new piercing because I'd only had one beforehand. And so he didn't really understand what they were properly. So he thought I had some sort of like infection on my lip. And it was so funny because like when I changed it to a hoop and stuff, he was like, where did that come from? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I've had my lip pierced for ages. And I explained to him that it was a piercing. It wasn't like a growth. It was just the piercing that I had. It was funny. And the rest of my family are fine with it. Like, you know, they're very liberal and free to be who you are. So yes. So I am not on board the trigger train today because it's been quite a fun little video. Now, I had over 1,000 questions. I had 1,000 responses to my like Instagram post. So if you would like me to do another part of this video, maybe I can do like a second part, which would be really fun. I've quite enjoyed doing this like little more chatty sort of throwback style video. So if you'd like me to do another one, please let me know down below. Hopefully this didn't annoy you too much. I quite like having it here. It kind of like, I don't know. makes me feel like I'm professional. But I do want to say thank you for all the love. Please hit the like button, does really help me out. Share with all your friends. Thank you for your questions. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos that I do upload. But I do want to give an extra special shout out to my Patreons here. You can see it on my screen. Thank you for being a Patreon. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Also, I want to give an extra special shout out to my top tier Patreons: Brianna, Kelly Bowser, Ziggy Wiggy, Judy Seymour, Alex Prescott, Kazzy Hill, Chili Herman, Hannah Murray, Suzmac, Star Madness, Laura Polachek, Jay, Kirsten Latu, Ashley Page, Dimitra Settle, Megan June, and Debbie Hallstorm. I can't read names. I'm so awful. Thank you for being a top tier Patreon. You guys are incredible. So there is a link down below if you'd like to become part of the Patreon family. But yes, thank you for watching. I'll see you all very soon for another fabulous video. Be proud, amazing, be gay, be everything you want to be, and don't let any bitch that tell you that you can't be you. Why is that? Because you are flawless.